CTV News with Angela McKenzie.
Good evening. A murder investigation is underway into a suspected femicide after a 44-year-old woman was killed in her apartment in Saint Michel. Montreal police have been on the scene since Saturday afternoon when a call was made to 911 requesting a wellness check at an apartment on 9th Avenue near Crémazie Boulevard. The victim, whose identity has not been released, was pronounced dead at the scene. Police also found a 51-year-old man with stab wounds to his upper body. He was transported to the hospital in critical condition. Police say he is considered a suspect.
The 51-year-old man is considered as a suspect right now in this investigation murder. And we now can say that this man was in an intimate partner relationship with the victim. So the investigation is still ongoing. All night, the investigators and the forensic technician were on site to analyze the scene. The investigation will still continue in order to understand what happened, what is the context of the event. But for now, it's still an investigation that is still ongoing.
This could be the 12th suspected femicide in Quebec since the beginning of the year. In 2025, there were 14 suspected femicides in Quebec, according to the Canadian Femicide Observatory. Well, Montreal paramedics are taking new measures to help prevent opioid overdoses by bringing naloxone directly to those who are at risk. Anastasia Dextrine reports.
It's a simple kit, but using it could be the difference between life and death.
This is a naloxone kit, so it oftentimes has the materials you need to intervene with someone who might be in opioid overdose.
The antidote works on brain receptors to restore breathing, and pharmacist Victor D'Souza says officials have done well to make it accessible. Naloxone is available without a prescription at pharmacies for free. And thanks to a new project involving Urgence Santé, Montreal and Laval paramedics can now provide kits to those in need on the ground. And the agency says they've already handed out roughly 20 kits so far.
If you open it up inside, you'll see that there's gloves, there's a face mask, and ideally there should also be 2 doses of intranasal naloxone. It also comes in an injectable, but the injectable dose can be a little bit trickier to administer. The intranasal dose is made to be very, very easy to administer, accessible. Basically, you hold it on either side of the nasal piston. You insert this part into the nose of the person. You can choose whichever nostril. If there is blood, try and wipe away the blood. And then, when ready, you activate it by pressing on this piston right here.
D'Souza says naloxone can be administered every 3 minutes until a person regains consciousness. According to Urgence Santé's Chief of Operations, Steve McDuff, there's a growing need. McDuff says in situations where Narcan is administered, the people involved are often unconscious and not breathing. And that's exactly what agency data shows. The number of people found unconscious or in cardiac arrest due to narcotic and opioid use in the Montreal area has trended up since 2022. Urgence Santé says paramedics administered naloxone itself 282 times last year. But this year, they've already administered the medication more than 200 times so far. While naloxone is effective, D'Souza warns that there can be side effects.
That reversal can be quite abrupt, so it can cause the person to have symptoms of withdrawal because it is doing it in such a strong manner.
That's why calling 911 and staying with the person is critical, even after naloxone is given. Anastasia Dextrine, CTV News.
A viral video showing what looks like an incident on a Montreal Zipline has turned out to be nothing of the sort. But the fallout is real. The company behind the ride says it had no choice but to pay the influencer hundreds of dollars in order to take down the misleading video. Now they're taking legal action. Sweeta Rassi has more.
Going down is easy, but climbing back up is the new challenge at this zipline attraction in Montreal's Old Port. That's exactly what an employee was testing out when a content creator from Halifax caught it on camera.
I said, babe, you know what? See, look, that guy got stuck. Oh, God. And then I said, my first thing was, obviously, I'm a social media guy. So, you know, everything I see, my eyes, anything interesting, I open up my camera, I start recording.
Lovepreet Singh posted that video online and called it an incident. It went viral and garnered 1 million views in just 24 hours. But when the president of the company, Samuel Cadotte, saw the post, he was shocked.
And we could see so many different comments of saying, I'm never doing this again.
So he asked Singh to take it down, or at the very least, change it to let viewers know there was no incident to begin with. But for the content creator, the video was making him money. So to remove it would cost Kadat.
My social media is my source of income.
So Kadat paid.
And to strike a deal, we had no choice.
They agreed on a $300 deal, and Singh took down the original video. He posted another one clarifying there was no incident to begin with.
It was not an incident, guys. Yes, the owner himself reached out to me.
One social media expert says it points to a bigger problem with how platforms reward content.
The algorithms don't care about the false information or misinformation at all. They only care about how long people are watching the video, how many people are sharing, liking, commenting.
The timing of the video made things worse. Kadat says the summer season is when his business earns most of its yearly revenue. Kadat has filed a police report and hired a lawyer.
And if people get the ideas of manipulating businesses again that people work so hard to build, well, I don't think it's a good idea.
But Singh insists he did nothing wrong.
This is not extortion. This is my business. I never said do not go to that zipline because that zipline had an incident.
Kadat hopes this incident serves as a lesson that influence comes with accountability. Sweeta Rassi, CTV News.
Quebec and Newfoundland and Labrador's long-standing dispute over the Churchill Falls power plant may soon come to an end. The two premiers will be making an announcement in St. John's on Monday. Quebec's Energy Minister Bernard Drinville and Hydro-Quebec President and CEO Claudine Pouchard are expected to be there as well. Hydro-Quebec and Newfoundland and Labrador jointly own the Churchill Falls generating station located in Labrador. The new deal is expected to replace the current agreement, which runs until 2041. Under that deal, Quebec pays the Atlantic province 0.2 cents per kilowatt hour and resells it at a higher price. Canada's Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc is meeting virtually with his U.S. counterpart Jamieson Greer. It comes as the U.S. threatens his new 50% tariff set to take effect on Wednesday. On Friday, Greer said talks have been constructive, but insisted Canada must lift its retaliatory measures to avoid the new tariffs. Michael Serapio has the latest.
A weekend in Washington and a virtual meeting this Sunday between the Minister for Canada-U.S. Trade, Dominic LeBlanc, and his U.S. counterpart, Trade Representative Jamieson Greer.
There's no reason why the Prime Minister can't get a great deal on Wednesday. That's what he promised in the election.
U.S. negotiators want action on booze, dairy, and U.S. autos. Canada looking for sectoral relief for lumber, steel, aluminum, and autos too. But according to sources, the two sides are still far apart.
It's because of Donald Trump. He likes his tariffs. He hasn't been looking to remove them.
Brian Clow led the Canada-U.S. relations file for Justin Trudeau. And he says for Canadian negotiators, the goal is not zero tariffs, but lower tariffs.
Get the best deal compared to any country in the world.
But if no deal is reached, the U.S. is promising to impose punitive tariffs of 50% on billions of dollars of Canadian exports.
I think that many Canadians, while they would like to continue to maintain the elbows up, would not appreciate what that actually means.
The U.S. trade rep warns Canada against imposing any kind of counter tariff if new U.S. tariffs come through. But this member of the Prime Minister's Advisory Council says Canada should not be afraid of fighting back, because counter tariffs and the booze boycott has, she says, an effect.
These are the things that got us to a place to be able to now use that leverage to get a better deal.
Now, whether a better deal can be reached by August 19 is yet to be seen, but today's virtual meeting can be seen as a positive sign, and that's because Jamieson Greer did carve out time to make it happen, walking away from his own birthday celebrations with loved ones. Still, as we heard from Canadian officials, there is still work to be done. Michael Serapio, CTV News, Ottawa.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is responding after several Conservative MPs told CTV News they're now questioning his leadership, with some doubting he'll still be leading the party when the next federal election is called.
Don Chang, CTV News. What would you say to any of your MPs who are worried about losing their own seat.
I would say that our job is to fight for Canadians, to fight for the jobs of Canadians, to fight for a lower cost of living and the safe streets of Canadians. Look, at the end of the day, our focus now should be on the fact that Mark Carney has broken his promises on grocery prices. He's given us the worst consumer insolvencies since the great global recession. He has given us the worst household debt in the G7, and he's missing in action now on trade and the Gordie Howe Bridge. My job is to continue to fight for the common people, fight for affordability, and to fight for safe streets for our country, and that's what I will continue to do.
CTV News spoke last week to 17 Conservative MPs from across the country who were granted anonymity to speak candidly about the party's internal concerns. They were asked specifically about a recent Nanos poll commissioned by CTV News, which found Prime Minister Mark Carney has no obvious challenger when voters are presented with a list of Conservative politicians. After 63 years of making crêpes, the Quebec City restaurant Au Petit Coin Breton is closing. 3 generations of one family ran the business, but that era is coming to an end. Christine Long has her story.
On Saint-Jean in Old Quebec, Au Petit Coin Breton makes crepes stuffed with ham, cheese, and asparagus, or filled with fruit and drizzled with chocolate.
C'est incroyable.
Patricia Rollin's grandparents, originally from Brittany, France, opened their restaurant in 1963. The menu has always been crepes and big salads with their homemade vinaigrette. Rollin says their recipe for success is consistency.
Come back, you always come back to the same people, and it's always the same recipe. We don't change anything.
Rollin and her brother are third-generation co-owners. Their kids won't be taking over, and their employees are retiring.
70 years old, 60, so they were done, and I don't want to do it without them.
Co-workers like Carole have been serving these signature plates for 43 years. She's ready to retire.
Ça me fait de la peine parce que je reverrai plus la gang là, avec qui on a travaillé pendant plusieurs années.
She says she's sad she won't be seeing the gang here anymore, colleagues and clients alike. Geneviève Fournier used to work here and considers these people her friends.
It's sad to see it close, but I'm glad I could make it before it does.
Making crepes at a pace. Victoria Lavoie started working here when she was 15, just like her mom did before her.
The dynasty, it's been going on for like 63 years, and I find it sad that it's finally coming to an end, but all the good things have to come to an end.
The beautiful old building has already been sold. Au Petit Coin Breton is closing after Labor Day. Roland says she's looking forward to a little less labor in her life.
I'm happy. Actually, I'm looking forward to have another job, and I won't be the boss. So it'll be nice.
Christine Long, CTV News.
It's been a record-breaking summer of rain in Ottawa. More than 500 millimeters has fallen so far, making it the wettest summer on record. For farmers across the region, all that water has been a blessing and also a curse. Josh Morano has more.
At the Carp Garlic Festival, Marcus Tiknovich has plenty to show for this year's harvest.
We'll cut you a deal.
But getting it out of the ground hasn't always gone according to plan.
When garlic wants rain, it definitely wants it, but when it doesn't want it, it kind of makes it just as well known.
Too much moisture around harvest can make garlic harder to dry and cure, creating conditions for mold.
When it's damp, there's no real point in harvesting because it's just a mess.
Tiknovich says some varieties saw about a 25% crop loss to fusarium mold.
Something that looked good when it came out of the ground is now showing some yellowing, some pulling away from the skin, definite signs of fusarium mold.
But even among garlic growers, the impact hasn't been the same.
I've got excellent tile drainage, so the water didn't stay and ruin my garlic. Fortunately for me, it wasn't too much of an effect.
The leaves were becoming really dry really quickly, so that's when I knew when to harvest the garlic. So we harvested 2 weeks earlier.
More than 500 millimeters of rain has fallen in Ottawa this summer, making it the wettest on record, but its impact isn't so cut and dry.
Fruiting vegetables, of course, so tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, they all seem to be doing well.
At the Westboro Farmers Market, Joseph Harrell says this year his crops have fared well, a stark contrast from last year.
We have a pond that went down 20 feet last year. I know my neighbor was trucking in water until he couldn't afford it anymore.
But too much water can still crack tomatoes and keep tractors out of saturated fields.
It's a mixed blessing.
One Tiknovich is happy to take after last year's dry conditions.
I can't complain, and I won't allow myself to complain, so really my cup is full, just as much as my rain gauge is.
Josh Morano, CTV News.
Taking a look at the weather now, it's currently 22 degrees in Montreal with some rain developing through the evening and continuing overnight. Tomorrow the rain continues in the early morning and should be mostly cloudy the rest of the day and a high of 24 degrees. Wet weather is also in the forecast for Wednesday, but Friday looks like a sunny one and a high of 26 expected for Saturday. When we return, Hurricane Lala downgraded to a tropical storm. But not before causing major damage in Hawaii. And a tech company responds to surveillance concerns. Hurricane Lala has now weakened into a tropical storm, but not before lashing the Hawaiian Islands with fierce winds and torrential downpours. At least one person was killed. Melissa Adan reports.
Hawaii hit with Hurricane Lala's wrath. The storm now weakening from its peak strength, but not before slamming the Big Island as a Category 1 hurricane. Though not making landfall, Lala dropped nearly 3 feet of rain across parts of the island and had powerful wind gusts as high as 80 miles per hour. Hawaii's governor declaring a state of emergency.
100 houses or more are damaged and lost.
The Big Island receiving nearly 1.5 feet of rain within 12 hours, more than 2 feet falling in higher elevations. Raging floodwaters turning rivers into dangerous rapids. Hawaii's longest river, the Wailuku, raging from the heavy rain. The Rainbow Falls, normally a postcard, now unrecognizable. The storm knocking out power for more than 100,000 homes and businesses. At one point, more than 70% of the Big Island was in the dark, as was 30% on Maui County. At the airports, hundreds of flights canceled across the islands, stranding tourists like Aman Khan.
I originally flew here to see the volcano erupt, which I thankfully got to see it before this crazy weather happened. I'm hoping I can fly out Monday.
Lala's eyewall brushed right up against the Big Island's southern tip, but not making landfall. The White House monitoring conditions on the ground in Hawaii, saying the U.S. Coast Guard is supporting search and rescue at the request of the Hawaii County Fire Department. The threat is still far from over, as impacts from Lala will still be felt across all of the Hawaiian Islands, as still several more inches of rain is expected. Melissa Adan, ABC News, Hilo, Hawaii.
Video posted today on social media shows a thick black plume of smoke rising from a burning medical supplies warehouse in Russia's Moscow region. Reuters confirmed Ukraine attacked the area with hundreds of drones overnight, making this one of its largest aerial attacks on Russia. A number of warehouses were hit, including a wild berries retail warehouse, Russia's equivalent to Amazon. Russian officials say one person was killed, several others injured. Meantime, another drone attack caused a fire at a major mall in Donetsk, a Russian-controlled city in Ukraine. Ukraine is being blamed for the incident. No deaths or injuries have been reported. After facing criticism over security cameras, law enforcement technology company Flock has introduced new safety controls. Olivia Rubin explains.
Flock says these high-tech cameras helped police solve more than 1 million crimes last year, but changes are now on the horizon after dozens of reports of misuse, including stalking.
This morning, the company behind more than 120,000 license plate tracking cameras nationwide is promising major changes after a report alleged some police officers have been misusing those cameras, including to stalk women.
These changes fall into 3 big areas: privacy, security,
and accountability. Together, they mark a new chapter for Flock.
Flock cameras automatically photograph every passing car into a database police can search. No warrant needed.
It uploads an image of the vehicle to a cloud that the 6,000 jurisdictions all have access to. So if you're driving down the road or driving in a parking lot in one city, the image of your vehicle can be downloaded and looked at by a police department across the country.
The Washington Post reporting at least 50 officers have been accused of misusing those plate readers, including to allegedly spy on their wives, their girlfriends, and their exes. This North Carolina officer arrested for allegedly tracking her boyfriend's ex-wife more than 30 times. She's set to appear in court at the end of the month. In response to the growing backlash and privacy concerns, Flock now says it will delete its data after 7 days instead of 30, require a criminal case number for every database search, and automatically lock out officers whose activity looks abnormal.
So will it solve less crime? It will. But as a business, we think 7 days is that new standard.
But privacy advocates claim it doesn't go far enough. The Center for Democracy and Technology calling it, quote, the same just trust us policy with a fresh coat of paint.
And Flock says they're, quote, not perfect and will keep listening, keep improving, saying they'll have more updates here in the coming weeks and months as these new changes start rolling out. Back to you.
Coming up, there's a lot of garden time left for a bountiful harvest. And flag football will debut at the next Olympics, and so will Canada's women's team. It's mid-August, and with back to school around the corner, some might feel like summer is almost over. But if you're a gardener, there's actually a lot of growing time left in the season. With me now is Sean Manning from Urban Seedling. They specialize in creating organic vegetable gardens in urban areas. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you, Angela.
So, Sean, what's happening in most produce gardens right now? I know zucchinis are peaking.
If you're lucky and your zucchinis weren't ravaged by, zucchini borers or any of the other problems that we sometimes have in our vegetable garden. I'm actually here in my home garden right now. So if I look behind me, I've got some peppers that are ripening. I've got tomatoes that are ripening. I still have some work to do on the kale. I have a very nice big bushy kale somewhere there right behind my back. So got to get eating the kale, got to get eating that Swiss chard. But now is actually a really, really fun time of the year because a lot of things are coming to fruition, and there's also a window that's opening up for us for a fall planting, which is one of my favorite times of the year. I'm fairly fair, so when it's too hot and too sunny, I like to hide. So now it's getting cooler, and a lot of the vegetables that we like to grow at this time are preferring the slightly cooler temperatures, but it's still perfect for tomatoes and peppers and eggplants, and all those things are ripening. And it's a really exciting time for gardeners.
Well, tell me a bit about the fall harvest. Like, is there anything that you could still plant now and still get that harvest before the season's over?
Oh, 100%. So the sweet spot and the way that this all works perfectly is by starting really early in the spring. And I know we're talking about fall, but in order for this method to really work at its maximum potential, we start at Urban Seedling with all of our gardens in April. So even though it's very cool in April, you do your spring planting nice and early, and then you do your summer planting with everyone else at the end of May, beginning of June. But at this time of year, if you started early enough, all of your carrots, all of your beets, your onions, the garlic that you plant the year before, and the peas, those are all done. So you have spaces in your garden, and sometimes we have problems as gardening is not a perfect science. It's an imperfect science, and it's just like everything in life, that sometimes things don't go the way that we wish that they would, and so sometimes we make space and we remove things. So we have these spaces in our garden, and what you have to do is now is the perfect time to replant lettuces, all the Asian greens like bok choy and tatsoi and even mizuna. You can do another round of arugula. You can replant some kale. So now the kale is getting a little mature. It's kind of tough. It's a little hard. Not everybody likes eating the very mature kale. So you can replant some smaller ones. But the trick is you need to start them. You needed to have started them a few weeks ago. So if you did, like we did, and I have some in the garden center, and if everyone wants to come and see us, you're more than welcome. And you can replant all of those little guys. You just need to make sure that your tomatoes, that your larger things are not completely shading them out. So you want to make sure your tomatoes are tied back, that you've cleared out so that they can also ripen properly. Like if you have too much of a bushy tomato at this time of year, you're going to end up in a couple of in a month and a half with way too much green tomatoes. There are always wonderful things we can do with those green tomatoes, but we all like those nice ripe ones. So make space, open it up, replant leafy greens, the cool weather vegetables, and then by the end of October, you'll have big, beautiful, nice mature lettuces again. And one of my favorites, and this is one of my coworkers, Sarah, was telling me today, she's like, Sean, you got to tell them about the Christmas Delight carrots. So at this time of year, and like, you got to get on it right now, but if you plant and seed carrots in your garden, you will then want to cover them up in November when the snow starts to come down with maybe like some people use them to protect their perennials, like a little styrofoam cover or something like that. You can harvest those for Christmas, and all of the starches in those carrots, as the temperature drops below zero underground, will turn into sugars. And this is like an old farmer's trick. All the farmers would save those winter carrots for themselves, and they dig them up over the Christmas holiday and serve them for the holiday times. And they're sweet and they're delicious. What a special treat.
Those sound delicious. We're out of time, Sean, but I hope in the fall we can have you back on and maybe talk more about what we can be doing in the fall to prepare for next year.
Absolutely. Just don't forget to plant your garlic right before the end of the year.
Thank you, Sean. Time now for In Case You Missed It. A major international cycling event is coming to Montreal next month, and we're all being warned to get ready. There are going to be road closures lasting for weeks, and even the mayor herself admits it will be hell for drivers. Matt Grillo reports.
We are racing. In about 5 weeks, the world's best cyclists will be in Montreal, competing at the UCI Road World Championships from September 20th to the 27th. Officials say the city hasn't hosted a cycling event like this since 1974.
This is an incredible event. The last time that we had a cycling event, the World Championship in that matter, was 52 years ago, if I'm not mistaken.
Despite all the excitement, there are a lot of road closures to look out for, starting with Park Avenue between Pine and Mount Royal. That stretch of road will be the main site of the event. It will be completely closed between September 7th and October 4th. And it's not the only major shutdown. The Champlain Bridge will be closed towards Montreal on September 26th and 27th. And the Bonaventure will be closed towards downtown from September 19th to the 22nd.
Some of the other streets that will be closed for the race to go through will only be closed temporarily and then reopened once the riders go through.
There are so many road closures, the city is asking citizens to plan their travel by visiting this interactive map on the Montreal2026.org website. It shows road closures for each day. And traffic analyst Rick Lechner says people should be using it.
Disciplined in checking this Montreal 2026 official site, either Waze or Google Maps, and just ensuring that before you head out somewhere, you know exactly what you're facing.
Event organizers say some Montrealers will only have to open their windows to watch the race.
It's an experience. It's not something destructive. It's an experience for all the citizens to be able to enjoy the races.
With so many closures on and off the island, try to take the metro when possible because several bus lines will be affected. The message is, plan your travel carefully or risk getting stuck in traffic. Matt Grillo, CTV News.
Canada's women's flag football team have qualified for the sport's Olympic debut in the 2028 Los Angeles Games.
Nonetheless, they got to get it in the end zone first, and here comes a Kemi Higa on 4th down. Higa, end zone, no! Off the mark, looking for Madison Fulford, and Canada has done it!
The women won gold in the championship game at the World Flag Football Championships today. They overcame an early deficit to beat the United States 27-20 for an overall clean sheet at the tournament in Germany. St. Lambert's own Caroline Moquen-Joubert scored a touchdown and spoke to us after the game.
Feeling is magical, unmatched, and like we realized it yesterday when we won against Mexico. We punched our ticket. We had the ticket in our hand, and we built that energy for the next day. And now with the gold medal in our necks, it's just the feeling is unmatched, and we're on cloud nine right now. Our system of flag football is really well installed in Quebec, and the University League really like the flag grew exponentially once the University League was announced, and the flag like went up crazy in the past 4 years because of that University League. So yes, I played with many of people on my team and against many people on my team. So we majorly play all in the university circuits. We're going to take a little break, and the university will start in September. I won't be part this year of the university circuit as I'm done with university, but honestly, training will start in September, weight room and some turf session. I will follow my QB everywhere where she goes to catch as many balls as I can.
The senior men's national team earned a bronze medal, securing its own Olympic berth. Well, after recently withdrawing from the National Bank Open with a back injury, Montreal's Félix Auger-Aliassime made a winning return to the court with a 6-3, 7-5 win over Greece's Stefanos Tsitsipas at the Cincinnati Open. Auger-Aliassime scored second at the Masters level event, struggled with the wind in the second set, and failed to serve out the match while up 5-4. But the 26-year-old broke back in the next game and made no mistake in his second chance to put the game away as he fired his 7th ace on match point. Auger-Aliassime has struggled against Tsitsipas over his career and beat the Greek player for just the 4th time in 11 matches. It was a 1-1 draw for CF Montreal against DC United at Saputo Stadium last night. It was a retro-themed night with Alexis Sanchez was in the stands. He was acquired by CF Montreal last Tuesday, many hoping he will be the team's savior. Prince Owusu scored Montreal's lone goal early in the second half, and DC United's Ty Baribeau tied things up in the 67th minute. CF Montreal's next game is Wednesday in Columbus, and that's when Sanchez will play his first game for Montreal. CF Montreal has banned 2 fans because of anti-Semitic language and throwing objects at a player on an opposing team. During a game on August 1st against New England Revolution, a group of fans yelled racist chants at forward Dort Turgeman and threw objects. A Major League Soccer investigation led to the 2 suspensions. The team added it will keep trying to identify other people involved. They will also be permanently barred from club events. Up next, he's passionate about Pokemon.
To do well, you have to look at the good decks and say, am I going to play the best deck, or am I going to play a deck that can beat the best deck?
And now this 12-year-old is headed to the World Finals.
Fighting for a better deal as a tariff deadline ticks down.
Get the best deal compared to any country in the world.
Where trade talks stand and how a birthday impacted today's negotiations. Later on CTV National News and watch on Crave.
Download the CTV News app and stay on top of local stories as they unfold.
Increasing number of abandoned buildings.
Customize your feed and watch live wherever you are. CTVMontreal.ca, your home for news.
Many people know the character Winnie the Pooh, but not many know the medical story behind his best pal, Christopher Robin. Now, a new edition of the beloved story is helping to shine a light on the characters and the condition known as myasthenia gravis. Pauline Chan reports.
Even something as ordinary as stairs can feel like a great expedition.
Hamira Osman of Muscular Dystrophy Canada reads A.A. Milne's beloved story of Winnie the Pooh. Milne's son, on whom Christopher Robin is based, lived with myasthenia gravis, and this special online version includes comments from myasthenia patients highlighting how Pooh's experiences mirror their own.
The condition is an autoimmune condition, meaning that our own bodies are generating antibodies to a very particular part of our anatomy. And in the case of myasthenia, it's at the interface where the nerve talks to the muscle.
I kept falling down the bus every time I tried to go up in the morning. Like, you know, I'm 19-year-old, I'm going to high school. And then I noticed like something was really off, like why am I falling all the time?
And Serene Zevker identifies with Pooh Bear's difficulty moving.
We all have a problem with climbing up anything, that we feel the tiredness and then the drowsy feeling of fatigue.
Serene was extremely lucky. Her myasthenia was diagnosed in a matter of days.
There can be a substantial delay for patients in getting to the right diagnosis, up to 5 to 7 years actually.
In that time, they can experience irreversible muscle damage, muscle weakness, and this is why it's so important to raise awareness on myasthenia gravis.
Dr. Charles Kasarjan says part of the problem is that MG has such a wide range of symptoms and also that they wax and wane.
That weakness can affect classically the eyes, so people can have droopy eyelids, double vision because it affects the movement of the eyes. They can have difficulty swallowing or speaking, so they can choke. They can have weakness of their arms or legs. And then one of the things that's a bit scarier is they can have weakness of their breathing muscles.
The hope is that the new version of Winnie the Pooh will open the eyes of physicians and the public to this little recognized and often invisible illness. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Spending millions on infrastructure is useless if it doesn't work properly. That's the lesson being felt daily in a small town just outside Kingston. Wolf Island has brand new docks and a sleek European ferry, but things keep breaking down. Judy Trin has more on the mounting frustrations.
On the St. Lawrence Seaway, an elusive sight as a $50 million boat appears on the horizon.
It is like whale watching, you know? Yeah, it's a rare thing.
Since it was put into service 2 years ago, the Wolf Islander 4 ferry, purchased by the Ontario government, has been docked longer for repairs than it has been transporting passengers. It's supposed to connect the 1,500 residents of Wolf Island to Kingston. The boat has been fixed, but it's not yet ready for vehicles.
I need to have people actually get to work, get to school, get to have their emergencies attended to. I don't have time for something that is so much of a wussy ferry.
The ferry was built by a Dutch company. In 2024, it was blown off course by strong winds and run aground. In 2025, the boat lost all power after an engine malfunction. And the hybrid vessel can only run on diesel because the recharging station hasn't yet been built. The contingency plan involves bringing back the old ferry.
Did you count on a boat that's true? We count on the Wolf Islander 3.
The Wolf Islander 3 has been immortalized in a folk song, but it's more than 50 years old, and it also breaks down.
It is a regular weekly event, sometimes multiple days in a row.
It's driven up costs for hotel owner Chris Brown. He's had to organize private boats to get his guests on and off the island.
And that boat is considered an extension of the highway, like any other responsibility of the province. It needs to be functional.
The impact is deepening. The town has lost doctors. The public elementary school has shuttered and is up for sale. Young families are moving to the mainland.
If they're trying to kill my community, they're doing a fine job of it, but I'll fight them tooth and nail.
The Ontario government says Wolf Islander 4 will be back in service soon and in full electric mode. But the province hasn't set a date. Meanwhile, the residents we spoke to remain skeptical. Judy Trin, CTV News, Wolf Island, Ontario.
It's taken 2 years of practice and training, but a 12-year-old from Edmonton is heading to the World Finals in Pokemon. As Jeremy Thompson reports, the journey has taught him about more than just pocket monsters.
It may not look like it, but this is a training session.
Draw.
Every day, for about 2 hours, Bennett Hansen works on deck building and strategy for the Pokemon trading card game with coach and card shop employee Yoon Shin.
It's like sports, right? There's different styles like trap defense and like really high-octane offense. Like Bennett knows all the strategies.
Bennett picked up the hobby a couple years ago after collecting the cards got him interested in the game.
Started going to like the biggest local leagues, but then I was still always doing constantly well, so trying to get more of a challenge.
The search for stiffer competition took Bennett and his family to unfamiliar cities, then countries, then continents.
It's pretty funny reaction you get when you say, oh yeah, we're going on a weekend trip to Sao Paulo to play Pokemon cards, and people kind of look at you a little funny.
Every tournament, Bennett earned points, climbing the season rankings with each finish. His goal was to qualify for the World Finals. Only the top 80 players in North America make the cut. Bennett finished 17th, the only Albertan in his age group to qualify.
If you want to do well, you have to look at the good decks and say, am I going to play the best deck, or am I going to play a deck that can beat the best deck?
I love the soft skills that he's developing through all of this as well, advocating for himself, working with people, thinking 3-4 steps ahead on his side of the table and his opponents.
These major tournaments feature a bunch of different aspects of the Pokemon world. Well, some people are playing the card game, others are ripping packs and collecting. That's what little brother Kendrick is into right now. Dad has even entered tournaments with Bennett.
Either mom or dad tend to do the trips with him. Sometimes we've gone as a family if it's somewhere special, like when we got the opportunity to go to London.
At the end of the month, they're heading to San Francisco, where Bennett will test his skills against more than 400 of the best players from around the world, with a crew of people who've helped him get there, cheering him on from home.
I feel proud. Like now, I kind of feel like, you know, I'm his #1 cheerleader.
We've really felt nothing but love.
Jeremy Thompson, CTV News, Edmonton.
First, cereal brands started removing artificial dyes in advance of a U.S. law banning them by the end of 2027. Now, after resisting the change, candy companies are doing the same. Here's Rebecca Jarvis.
The iconic candies getting a makeover. M&M's, Skittles, and Starbursts are available without artificial food dyes.
What is the biggest challenge of changing the colors?
I think it's twofold. I think it's the vibrancy, and I think it's the scale.
Candy maker Mars giving GMA an exclusive look inside their labs and factories across the country to see how the new recipes, incorporating colors found in nature, like beet juice for red, turmeric for yellow, and a combination of those plus spirulina for green, came to be.
Obviously, some people like the idea that you're changing the ingredients, but when they pick up an M&M, they want it to look and feel the same as it always has.
We've actually talked to over 13,000 consumers in the past year about this conversation exactly. And the good news is they're really open to the tone, hue changing slightly. What they're absolutely not open to is the taste changing.
So we suited up to put taste to the test in the company's R&D kitchen.
We're going to start with M&Ms. I'm going to put a couple in your hand.
Tastes like I remember.
Now we have sample 2.
Sample number 2.
You got them? It's tricky with the dots on.
I will say, I cannot tell any difference between the two.
And that is what our consumers said too.
These new M&Ms produced here in Hackettstown, New Jersey, but even after decades of work, 2 colors have been tougher to crack, brown and blue.
Blue is the challenge. There aren't very many blue vegetables. We're using something called spirulina. That spirulina is a tricky thing to handle at scale, but I want to reassure everybody they're not going away.
At the Skittles factory here in Waco, Texas, perfecting the purple color with purple grape proved to be the biggest challenge.
The challenge came in the variability of the color from batch to batch. These were all made with the same formula, so the variability was coming from the process. So our research and development teams had to work in the factory looking at different process variables to get the color to be very consistent.
Mars isn't the only company hard at work in the factory. The FDA is working to phase out artificial food dyes, and more companies have pledged to do it.
I think a large part of the motivation from companies to remove these food dyes from their products is from the public, with more information coming in about the possible links to poor outcomes like cancer.
For breaking news and local news that matters to you, download the CTV News app right now by scanning the QR code on your screen using your smartphone. Or you can also go to our website, ctvnewsmontreal.ca.
Dog owners took to the streets of Bolivia today to take part in an annual festival honoring a Catholic saint. The festival sees dog owners dressing their pets in elaborate costumes and participating in a race. The animals are also brought to a cathedral to receive blessings. Some dogs could be seen running alongside their owners. Others were sitting in strollers being pushed around the streets. Taking a final look at the forecast, it's currently 22 degrees in Montreal with some rain developing through the evening and continuing overnight. Tomorrow we'll continue to see rain in the early morning and skies will be mostly cloudy the rest of the day, a high of 24 degrees. More rain in the forecast for Wednesday, but we should see sun on Friday, a high of 26 expected for Saturday. Well, that's it for us. We'll see you back here at 11:30. Have a good evening, everyone. Take care.